After 15 years of trusting Shearwater computers on hundreds of deep technical wreck dives, I've recently added the new Perdix 2 Bronze Journey Edition to my kit, and it's now my offboard CCR backup of choice. It's a really important computer to me, as it's the one that I use to control my decompression. Now, there's a reason Shearwater has become the computer of choice for almost all technical divers and integrated into a whole load of rebreathers. Simple fact is, their reliability, their capability, their performance at depth is unmatched. And that's why this isn't my first Shearwater. It's the latest in a long line of them that have kept me safe on a whole load of deep dives. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about my 5 favourite things that I love about Shearwater computers. But first of all, I want to talk about the difference between the Perdix 2 Bronze Journey Edition and the Perdix, the original Perdix that I've been using for the last 8 years, I think. Now, some of these are cosmetic, and let's be honest, the Perdix 2 Journey Edition does look a whole lot better than the original Perdix. Now, although that's nice, it's not really what I want to focus on. What I want to talk about is the things that make a difference to me as a diver, and the most important one is the improvement to the screen. Simply, it's noticeably brighter and noticeably clearer than my Perdix one. Now, that's not to say that the original Perdix didn't have a great screen, because it did, and it does. It's just that it's been taken to the next level by the Perdix 2. I think that's a really important thing, because on any dive you're going to want to get information from a screen quickly, and the brighter and clearer it is, the less likely you are to get it wrong. You're going to take the information in quicker, and for people like myself who are doing long deep dives, particularly if you're under pressure when stuff is happening, that's something that is really important and something that I value a lot. The Journey Edition has also got improved battery life, and frankly, who doesn't like that? It claims that it's got up to 60 hours, which is an awful lot of diving, even when you do them as long as I do. Another interesting thing is the air integration, and that's one of those things that people absolutely love. So the Perdix 2 Journey Edition will allow up to 4 transmitters to connect, and that's something that I never had on my original. I'll be honest, it's not something that I'm particularly going to use, but obviously there's a whole load of people that will. The other thing that's not on the original is the vibration alerts, which on the Perdix 2 are programmable. They're obviously a great way of making divers aware that there's something in their computer that they need to look at. And they're not quite as intrusive as audio alarms, which can sometimes upset other divers. So vibration alerts, a really nice touch and another great feature. The last one that I want to mention is the addition of a 3-axis tilted compass. Does that make a huge difference? Well, yeah, it just means it's going to be more accurate, and that's got to be a good thing. So if you're going to use a compass, you want it to be accurate. So well done, Shearwater, for moving that forward. Overall then, the Perdix 2 Bronze Journey Edition feels like a real improvement and an upgrade to my original Perdix. And that's why it's my new offboard computer of choice. Having said that, there are a whole load of things that have remained the same, and that's great because they're really important features. There's a ton of things that I could talk about, but what I particularly want to do is talk through 5 things I really like about the Shearwater, and they're things that aren't necessarily always appreciated or understood by everybody. So what I'm going to do is run through them now. Hopefully you'll find something of value to you. And what I would say is, if you think there's a feature that I've missed and I should have talked about, then stick it in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear what you like about them. The first feature that I'm going to cover is something that you can do before you get in the water, and that is dive planning. So you put all the information that is relevant to the dive into the Shearwater, and then you can tell it to run a dive plan, and it will give you one. It will give you your stops, your stop depths, if you're doing open circuit, gas changes, all that kind of stuff. And if you want to, you can transfer that onto a dive slate and take it in the water with you as a backup. You can also run what if scenarios. What if this gas isn't available? What if I change to that gas? What if I do a bit longer or a bit deeper, or whatever it is? And you can do all of this on the surface before you get into water. So that's a fantastic feature. Well done, Shearwater. The next one is probably not quite as useful, but definitely really interesting. And it's not something I think that necessarily people are aware of. So what it is that the Shearwater will show you the exact breakdown of decompression stops that you need to do. You can see exactly how long you are going to be at each depth, all the way back up until you get to the surface. So, you know, that's kind of interesting, even if not quite as directly useful as the previous one. Number 3, though, is something that is really important and really useful, which is that with your Shearwater, you can change your breathing gases underwater on the fly. So before you go in the water, you can have 5 closed circuit gases programmed and 5 open circuit gases programmed. But that doesn't really cover the scenario that, say, another diver has a different breathing gas to one of the 5 that you put in, and for whatever reason you need to use their breathing gas. So what you need to be able to do is change this underwater, and then your computer to modify your dive plan, modify your stops and all those kind of things. And that is exactly what the Shearwater allows you to do. So you can sit there, you can change your gas that you've got programmed in, and then say, this is what I'm breathing now, and the Shearwater will take that and run with it. So that is obviously super, super useful. Right, on to number 4 then. And that is gradient factors. I think most people know that gradient factors are a way of modifying the conservatism of the dive. So if you want to stay underwater and do more decompression stops, you have a conservative set of gradient factors. If you want to get out the water quicker, then you have a less conservative set of gradient factors. Now, before you get in the water, you will obviously program whatever you want into the computer, and then you're doing the dive. But let's say something happens on the dive and you decide you want to either be more conservative or you want to be less conservative. Well, the great thing is that the Shearwater allows you to adjust the gradient factor whilst you're actually down there. And therefore, let's say, for instance, you have bailed out and you are concerned that you might not have enough breathing gas to do your full stops, and you're willing to accept a greater risk of decompression illness to mitigate the risk of running out of diving gas, then what you can do is you can change the gradient factor high from, say, let's say you had it at 70 or 80, you could change it to 90 or 95, and that would get you out of the water quickly while still giving you an element of mitigation or risk control over the risk of getting decompression illness. And the last one is the one that you'll see me doing on pretty much every dive, which is to change the PO2 underwater so that it can match the PO2 on my rebreather, and I use that to accelerate my decompression. It's another awesome feature of the Shearwater, and the great thing about it is that the Shearwater will just do everything on the fly. So it will calculate your decompression profile. It will also calculate all the other stuff that you need, such as CNS, and it just presents it to you absolutely seamlessly. So that is another super useful feature. And I've now told you the 5 things that I particularly love, but there's a whole load of other things, and I'd be really interested to hear from you how important those are to you. So for instance, one thing that's really cool is the configurable middle row. So different people like to put on different things on there depending on what's relevant for their sort of diving. Some people like to see gradient factor 99 or the delta or whatever else it is, but that's another fantastic feature. Other people really like the rate of ascent indicator. That's the yellow or red just to the right of the current depth. There's also that lovely thing, if you go slightly higher than your decompression stop, it will give you either a red or a yellow indicator that you need to go back down again. Another thing I think that needs to be talked about is the app. So you can upload your dives from your Shearwater onto an app on your phone. It will sync with the cloud desktop. It's a great way of keeping your dive logs and also allows you to interrogate them and see all the information in there. So another fantastic feature. And I've not even touched on open circuit modes, haven't talked about recreational mode, haven't talked about the technical mode, both of which are extremely strong and extremely capable in their own right, but not really something that I use very much of. So if you've got a favourite feature about the Shearwater, any of the Shearwater computers that you like, then please stick it in the comments. I'd love to hear what they are. But I hope you've enjoyed my favourite features of the Shearwater. I mean, the simple fact is, All the Shearwater range of dive computers are really good and strong in their own ways, but the Journey Edition, the Perdix 2 Bronze Journey Edition, has taken that to a next level. It's now my new off-board dive computer of choice. You're going to be seeing a lot more of it on my videos. If you've enjoyed this one and you want to watch some of my other ones, I've got a whole load more about different types of technical diving equipment, some tips and tricks that work for me. Otherwise, if you could leave us a like, drop us a comment, use the hype system, whatever it is, that will be absolutely brilliant. Otherwise, I'm Dom Robinson, Deep Wreck Diver. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.